All right, so for review of your requirements, so you guys are creating an informally balanced composition. Remember, no symmetrically balanced compositions. You're creating emphasis to show importance in your composition. And then, I gave you guys a 10 by 10 inch square to do your composition on so that it's the same size for your actual painting. You have to have informal balance, emphasis to show importance, foreground, middle ground, background, a realistically drawn painted or bug of your choice, a patterned or rhythmic background. And then when you start to think about your media, you're gonna have to have at least 3 of those watercolor techniques that you guys practiced. You're gonna have to use pen and ink to show at least 2 different textures in 2 different areas. And then you can choose to also include ink washes, which I'm gonna demonstrate for you guys in a minute, and they can help to show value change as well. So I showed you guys my drawings before. Originally I had thought for my patterned or textured background, I was gonna do a fly swatter, and then I wanted my fly to be kind of in the foreground. I showed you guys all my different macro fly images that I had, and then I talked briefly about some of those challenges that I came across as I was drawing in my fly. I couldn't see the fly's legs. Which direction does the middle leg go? Does it go forward? Does it go backward? And so I was using my little plastic bugs to make some of those decisions as well. The other thing is that, remember, your bug doesn't have to be your main focus. Your bug could be off to the side. It just has to be a realistically painted bug. Maybe your bug is in the background. Maybe your bug is in the middle ground. So if you're more interested in drawing flowers, then, put a flower in your foreground and have your bumblebee somewhere off in the background. So you guys can think about stretch those limits of what you are required to do, because these are the only requirements that you have. Question?
Can you have more than one bug?
You totally could have more than one bug, for sure. Especially if you're doing something like a cockroach or something. What if you had a swarm of them, It could be really creepy that way. So yeah, totally. These are the only requirements that you have. You guys decide, make it work for what it is that you want to do. So then I did my drawing, and I was kind of working when you guys were working last class, and I drew it big. I actually looked at a fly swatter, but as I was drawing it, I told you about some of my challenges with my bug, and so I've kind of gotten my whole square kind of filled out here. So now I'm ready to transfer this onto my watercolor paper. This is like really good watercolor paper that you guys are going to work on. So I'm going to take an ebony pencil, and on the back, I'm going to cover my drawing with ebony. So your drawing that you do, your to scale drawing should be really good drawing. I mean, it should be exactly what you want it to be, because you don't have to redraw it. If you want to just straight up redraw it on your final paper, by all means you can. But transferring it is a whole lot easier. Sometimes putting down the ebony is the hardest part. So I'm going to put down my ebony. It doesn't have to be super duper dark, but you do want to make sure that you have ebony everywhere that you might be transferring. All right, so your watercolor paper is actually 12 by 12. So I drew a 1-inch border all the way around. I'm going to put my drawing on here into my this inner square, and then I'm going to start to transfer by applying pressure over the lines that I've already drawn. Oops. Make sure you draw them accurately. I'm going to try and at least get my fly transferred here. I tried to kind of show those sections of his legs because I thought that was something that was kind of cool about the fly. The other thing you could do would just be to flip over your drawing and put pressure on the back, but it will be backwards from what you originally drew. If that doesn't bother you, then that's another way that you could transfer it. So let's get his eyes in here. I know one of the textures that I'm going to do with the pen and ink is going to be like a stippling texture on his eyes. And then I think I'm also going to do some sort of like a fur texture on his body. I wanted to kind of show the thickness of the wing there. All right, if I can at least get the fly swatter loosely drawn in here, I can do some of the details later. I did use a ruler in order to measure out my fly swatter. All right, so should be transferred now. So one of the things I wanted to show you guys was the ink washes. You used ink in order to draw with a pen, and you guys could use the pen and nib to do your textures, or you can use a Sharpie. Either one, it's up to you. Ink washes are one way that you can add value without having to mix your colors as much with the watercolor. So if you lay down some values first, then you can go on top of it with some, there's some orange in here, with your watercolor later, and still get the value changes. So what you're gonna do is I'm gonna fill these with different amounts of water. Some of those, so we've got kind of one with lots, one with middle, one with a little bit. Some of these inkwells have eyedroppers on them. Now you can put in different amounts of ink into each different amount of water, or I could put the same amount in each one. So I can go 1 drop in here, except it doesn't want to drop in. Let's see, 1 drop in here. Oh, come on. Yeah, we'll just 1 drop in here, 1 drop in here. Theoretically, I should get 3 different tones now. Sometimes it's a good idea to have a little separate sheet of paper so you can test them. So this one, that's pretty light, that's good. Just like watercolor, I think I'm gonna try to layer with my ink washes. This one, probably needed a little bit more ink. That one's a little bit darker. So I'm gonna use this one. And with my fly, I'm gonna make sure that his kind of underbelly here is darker. So I'm gonna start to put in some value washes on here. I might wanna actually look at my pictures for some inspiration. He's got kind of rainbow up on top, so I think I'm gonna leave some of that. He does have some darker values kind of in his face here. Kind of almost like a reflective kind of look. I do have gold and silver watercolor too, if that would be appropriate for your painting. I'm gonna go ahead and put some on his legs, even though I'm probably gonna wind up going in with some black watercolor. I could even go in with the black ink. It would make it really, really, really dark. So that might be good for his legs when I start to actually do my painting. So ink washes can be a nice way to add some value too. It'll help to give it some dimension. You don't have to do ink wash. If you want to, you can. It's totally up to you. You guys are required to use the watercolor and then also use the pen and ink. So refer back to your requirements as you guys start to actually think about and work on your drawings. Do you guys have any questions for me? All right, so all the paper that you need should be